Today, we delve into the chilling realities of the wild as we recount 5 bone-chilling bear attacks that shook the very foundations of national parks. No frills, no sugarcoating, just the cold, hard truth about these harrowing encounters with nature's apex predator. So buckle up and prepare to be gripped by the raw and unfiltered accounts of those who faced the most disturbing bear attacks in the heart of the wilderness. Timothy Treadwell, a former heroin addict turned bear enthusiast, spent his summers camping in the wilderness of Alaska, seeking peace and connection with the grizzly bears that roamed the huge expanse of Katmai National Park. For 13 years, Treadwell's life revolved around his close interactions with these majestic creatures. Each encounter captured on film as he sought to document their lives in unprecedented detail. Treadwell's fascination with bears began in 1989, when he first set foot in the Alaskan wilderness. Struggling with substance abuse and seeking redemption, he found comfort in the company of the bears, whom he came to view as his friends and allies in his battle against his inner struggles and overcoming addiction. Renaming himself Timothy Treadwell as a symbol of his newfound purpose, he went on a mission to protect and preserve the bears he so deeply loved. Over the years, Treadwell's passion for bears grew into an obsession, leading him to spend months at a time living among them in the remote corners of Katmai National Park. His interactions with the bears ranged from playful to dangerous, as he sought to establish a bond of trust and mutual respect with these powerful creatures. But Treadwell's unconventional approach to bear conservation drew criticism and concern from park rangers and wildlife experts, who warned him of the dangers of his close proximity to the animals. Despite their warnings, Treadwell remained undeterred, convinced that his understanding of the bears would keep him safe from harm. In the summer of 2003, Treadwell returned to Katmai National Park, accompanied by his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard. They set up camp in a remote area of the wilderness where they were surrounded by bears. As the days passed, Treadwell and Huguenard ventured deeper into the wilderness, their cameras capturing the beauty and brutality of life among the bears. But their idyllic existence was shattered on a tragic October day, when they encountered a bear unlike any they had faced before. The attack came without warning as Treadwell stepped outside their tent to investigate a noise in the darkness. In an instant, the bear was upon him, its massive jaws closing around his head with terrifying force. Huguenard, awakened by Treadwell's screams, went outside the tent to find her partner locked in a desperate struggle for survival. Frantic with fear, Huguenard grabbed a frying pan and rushed to Treadwell's aid, striking the bear with all her strength as her boyfriend's life hung in the balance. But the bear's fury was relentless, and despite their efforts to survive, both Treadwell and Huguenard were overwhelmed by its savage power. For 6 agonizing minutes, the sounds of their screams echoed through the wilderness. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the attack was over, leaving behind only silence and death in its wake. When air taxi pilot Willie Fulton arrived at the campsite the following day, he was met with a scene of unimaginable horror. Amidst the torn tents and scattered belongings lay the remains of Treadwell and Huguenard, their bodies mutilated beyond recognition by the bear's savage attack. When park rangers and wildlife officials arrived at the scene, they faced the horrifying truth of what had occurred. The bear responsible for the attack, a large 28-year-old male, was quickly found and killed. Its stomach contained the remains of its victims. After the incident, there were lingering questions about what led to Treadwell and Huguenard's deaths. Some speculated that Treadwell's disregard for the dangers of living among wild bears had doomed them, while others viewed their deaths as accidental, demonstrating that danger exists even in places where one feels safest. For those who had known Treadwell and Huguenard, their deaths were a devastating loss, but amidst the grief and sorrow, their lives and love for bears and nature will always be remembered. It was late afternoon when Doug Inglis and Jenny Goose, both experienced hikers in their early 60s, set out on their week-long adventure into the heart of Banff National Park. The couple, known for their meticulous planning and deep love for the outdoors, had spent months preparing for this trip. Doug had dreamed of capturing the rugged beauty of the Canadian Rockies on film. Jenny, on the other hand, looked forward to spotting rare species among the towering trees and alpine meadows. Their journey began in the quaint town of Banff, where they stocked up on supplies and checked in with park rangers to review safety protocols. Bringing with them maps, bear spray, and a satellite phone for emergencies, they set off on the trail accompanied by their trusty border collie, Triss. The first few days of their hike were uneventful, marked by breathtaking views and encounters with friendly wildlife. They marveled at the sight of snow-capped peaks reflected in crystal-clear lakes and paused to photograph bizarre creatures like mountain goats and marmots. As they went deeper into the wilderness, however, signs of bear activity became more prevalent. Claw marks on trees and scattered droppings were some of the early signs of danger lurking in the forest. Still, Doug and Jenny remained undeterred, confident in their ability to navigate their trail. On the tragic day of October 2023, the couple had hiked several miles into the Panther Valley, a remote and isolated region known for its dense forests and rocky terrain. As they set up camp near a babbling brook, Doug and Jenny were unaware that they had unwittingly encroached upon the territory of a hungry grizzly bear. Night descended swiftly, cloaking the landscape in darkness as Doug and Jenny retreated into their tent for the evening. Triss, ever vigilant, curled up at their feet, her senses attuned to the slightest disturbance in the night. Suddenly, without warning, the tranquility of the wilderness was shattered by a thunderous crash. Doug and Jenny's tent collapsed under the force of a massive blow, sending them sprawling onto the forest floor. Triss quickly stood up, her fur bristling with fear as she confronted the looming silhouette of a grizzly bear. In a blur of motion, the bear lunged at the couple, its razor-sharp claws tearing through fabric and flesh alike. Doug and Jenny fought back with all their strength, grappling with the beast in a desperate bid for survival. But their efforts were futile against the overwhelming power of the animal. Outside, the night air echoed with the sound of their struggle, punctuated by Triss's frantic barks and the deep growls of the bear. Colin Inglis, Doug's uncle and closest living relative, received a chilling SOS message from their GPS device. Bear attack bad. In an instant, he knew that his worst fears had been realized. Parks Canada officials sprang into action, mobilizing a ground response team to rescue the besieged hikers. Hindered by dangerous terrain and inclement weather, the team faced a race against time to reach the remote location of the attack. Meanwhile, Doug and Jenny fought for their lives with dwindling hope of survival. Armed only with bear spray and their wits, they battled the relentless predator in a desperate bid to stay alive. As the minutes passed, it became increasingly clear that their fate was sealed. In a final act of defiance, the couple unleashed a volley of bear spray at the charging grizzly, hoping against hope to fend off the inevitable. But the bear, driven by primal instinct, pressed on with determination, its savage fury undimmed by the sting of pepper spray. Outside, the response team closed in on the scene of the attack, guided by the faint glow of their headlamps in the darkness. With weapons drawn and hearts pounding, they braced themselves for the confrontation that awaited them. As they burst into the clearing, they were met with a scene of unimaginable horror. Doug and Jenny lay lifeless on the forest floor, their bodies mangled beyond recognition by the brutal force of the bear's attack. Triss, too, had fallen victim to the predator's wrath, her loyal spirit silenced forever. But the danger was far from over. In the shadowy depths of the forest, the grizzly bear still roamed. The response team confronted the beast that would determine the fate of all involved. In a tense standoff, they raised their weapons and fired repeatedly, aiming to stop the threat permanently. The sound of gunfire filled the air as the bear stood up on its hind legs. At last, the bear slumped to the ground, its lifeblood staining the forest floor as the echoes of the struggle faded into silence. The threat had been gone, but the cost had been steep. Doug and Jenny, beloved partners in life and adventure, had been torn from this world in a moment of unfathomable violence, leaving behind only memories and unanswered questions. In the vast expanse of Yellowstone National Park, adventure beckons to those who dare to explore its beauty. For Brian and Marilyn Matayoshi, avid hikers from Torrance, California, Yellowstone held a special allure, a place where they could escape the hustle and bustle of city life and immerse themselves in nature. Brian, a retired pharmacist, and Marilyn, a devoted wife and outdoor enthusiast, shared a passion for adventure that had taken them to some of the most breathtaking landscapes across the country. From the towering peaks of the Rocky Mountains to the beautiful views of the Grand Canyon, they had traversed the great outdoors with a sense of curiosity and wonder. It was on a warm July morning, amidst the towering pines and babbling brooks of Yellowstone, that their latest adventure began. Setting out on the Wapiti Lake Trail, a popular route known for its stunning scenery and abundant wildlife, the couple went on a trip into the heart of the park. As they made their way along the trail, their senses were alive with the sights and sounds of the wilderness. The air was crisp and clean, the scent of pine needles mingling with the earthy aroma of the forest floor. Birds chirped merrily overhead, their songs echoing through the trees as if welcoming the couple to their natural sanctuary. But amidst the peace present in their surroundings, danger lurked just beyond. Unbeknownst to Brian and Marilyn, they were about to encounter one of nature's most powerful creatures, a grizzly sow and her cubs, foraging for food in the early morning light. On July 6, 2011, as the couple rounded a bend in the trail, they stumbled upon the scene, a sight that would send shivers down their spines and change the course of their lives forever. The grizzly, startled by the presence of intruders, rose to her full height, her massive form blocking the path ahead. Instinctively, Brian and Marilyn froze, their hearts pounding in their chests as they assessed the situation before them. The sow, protective of her young, regarded them with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion, her keen senses alert to any potential threat. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as man and beast locked eyes, each sizing up the other with a mixture of fear and fascination. Then, without warning, the grizzly's demeanor shifted, her maternal instincts giving way to primal aggression. With a deafening roar, she charged towards the couple with lightning speed, her massive frame hurtling through the underbrush with the force of a freight train. Brian, recognizing the imminent danger, urged Marilyn to flee as he braced himself for the impending attack, but it was too late. With a thunderous crash, the grizzly bore down on Brian with lethal intent, her claws and teeth tearing through flesh with savage ferocity. In a matter of heart-wrenching moments, a life was extinguished, leaving Marilyn to witness the unimaginable horror before her eyes. Desperate to escape the onslaught, Marilyn fled for her life, her heart pounding in her chest as she raced through the forest with the bear hot on her heels. With every step, she could feel the creature's breath on her neck, its primal fury driving it onwards in a relentless pursuit. But then, just as all hope seemed lost, Marilyn stumbled upon a fallen tree, an unlikely sanctuary amidst the chaos. With trembling hands, she sought refuge behind its sturdy trunk, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she braced herself. Miraculously, the bear's attention shifted, its focus drawn away from Marilyn by the scent of fresh blood. With a guttural growl, it abandoned its pursuit, disappearing into the depths of the forest as quickly as it had appeared. In the aftermath of the attack, Marilyn found herself alone in a world forever changed by tragedy. With trembling hands, she reached for her cell phone, her fingers fumbling as she dialed for help in the face of unspeakable horror. As park rangers scrambled to respond to the scene, theories swirled regarding the circumstances that led to the fatal mauling. Some speculated that the grizzly, startled by the presence of intruders, had acted out of fear and instinct, while others questioned whether the couple's actions had inadvertently provoked the attack. In August of 1967, the peace of Glacier National Park was shattered by a series of grizzly bear attacks that left 2 young women dead and forever changed the course of the park's history. On August 13th, Julie Helgeson and Michelle Coons, both 19 years old, became unwitting victims of the unpredictable and unforgiving wilderness. Julie Helgeson, a spirited young woman from Minnesota, had long dreamed of exploring the beauty of Glacier National Park. Alongside her companion Roy Duckett, she went on a scenic hike along the Highline Trail, eager to immerse herself in the splendor of the wilderness. Helgeson and Duckett settled down for the night at Granite Park Chalet. Little did they know that their peaceful slumber would soon be shattered by the savage brutality of a grizzly bear. In the darkness of the night, a massive grizzly bear emerged from the shadows, its powerful frame silhouetted against the starlit sky. With a thunderous roar, it launched itself at Helgeson and Duckett, its razor-sharp claws tearing into their flesh with ferocious intensity. Amidst the chaos and confusion, Helgeson's desperate cries for help echoed through the silent wilderness. Duckett, his arm mangled and bloodied, frantically sought aid from nearby campers, his heart heavy with fear for the safety of his beloved companion. Despite their best efforts to fend off the relentless attacker, Helgeson and Duckett found themselves locked in a desperate struggle for survival. With each passing moment, the bear's savage attack grew more frenzied, its primal instincts driving it to unleash its full fury upon its helpless victims. As dawn broke over the beauty of the park, the full extent of the tragedy became painfully clear. Julie Helgeson, her body ravaged by the ferocious bear, lay lifeless amidst the wilderness she had come to love. Her dreams of adventure and exploration were tragically cut short, leaving behind a legacy of sorrow and loss that would forever haunt the hearts of those who knew her. Meanwhile, Michelle Coons, a vibrant young woman with a zest for life, found herself facing her own terrifying ordeal at Trout Lake. She and a group of fellow park employees gathered around a campfire, their laughter and camaraderie echoing through the silent night. But their peaceful reverie was shattered by the sudden appearance of a grizzly bear, its massive form looming ominously in the darkness. With a deafening roar, it launched itself at the unsuspecting campers, its powerful jaws snapping shut with deadly precision. In the chaos and confusion that followed, Coons and her companions fought desperately for their lives, their screams of terror mingling with the savage growls of the rampaging bear. Despite their best efforts to fend off the relentless attacker, Coons found herself ensnared in the jaws of death, her anguished cries echoing through the silent night. As the bear dragged her away into the darkness, Coons' companions could only watch helplessly, their hearts heavy with grief and despair. In the aftermath of the attack, Glacier National Park was plunged into a state of shock and disbelief as the beauty of the wilderness was shattered by the brutal actions of 2 grizzly bears. But amidst the darkness, there emerged a glimmer of hope. The tragic events of that terrifying night served as a wake-up call for the National Park Service, prompting a dramatic overhaul of their bear management policies. Gone were the days of lax enforcement and indifference towards the dangers posed by habituated bears. In the years that followed, protecting both visitors and wildlife, Littering was strictly prohibited, and campsites were closely monitored to prevent bears from accessing human food sources. Education programs were launched to raise awareness about the dangers of interacting with bears, and stringent regulations were put in place to ensure the safety of park visitors. Richard White, a 49-year-old man from San Diego, California, was not a stranger to adventure. With a zest for exploration and a love for the great outdoors, he often found himself drawn to the remote corners of the world, seeking solace in the wilderness. But it was his final journey into the heart of Alaska's Denali National Park that would forever change the course of his fate. Born and raised in the bustling city of San Diego, Richard White had always harbored a deep-seated desire to escape the confines of urban life and immerse himself in the natural wonders of the world. As a child, he spent countless hours exploring the coastline of California, his curiosity driving him to seek out new experiences beyond the boundaries of his hometown. But it was not until adulthood that White's passion for adventure truly blossomed. He embarked on a series of expeditions that would take him to some of the most remote and inaccessible regions on Earth. In August 2012, White set his sights on Denali National Park, a sprawling wilderness located in the heart of Alaska's interior. With its mountains, vast expanses of tundra, and abundant wildlife, the park offered a tantalizing opportunity for exploration. With nothing but his camera and a spirit of adventure, he went on a solo backpacking trip along the Toklat River, eager to immerse himself in the pristine beauty of the Alaskan wilderness. For 3 days, White roamed the wilds of Denali, his days filled with wonder and excitement as he marveled at the breathtaking scenery and encountered a variety of wild creatures. From grizzly bears to majestic caribou, the park teemed with life. But on the 4th day of his journey, tragedy struck. As White made his way along the banks of the Toklat River, his keen eye caught sight of a massive grizzly bear, its hulking frame blending seamlessly into the surrounding landscape. With a sense of awe, he raised his camera and began capturing the majestic creature on film, unaware of the events that would soon unfold. For nearly 8 minutes, White observed the bear, its movements graceful and unhurried as it foraged for food. In those fleeting moments, the wilderness seemed to embrace him, offering a glimpse into the raw beauty of nature untouched by human hands. But as the seconds ticked by, the scene shattered into chaos. In a sudden burst of aggression, the bear turned its attention towards White, its primal instincts awakening at the sight of an intruder in its territory. With lightning speed, it charged towards the unsuspecting hiker, its massive form bearing down upon him with deadly intent. In those harrowing moments, White found himself in a fight for his life against the ferocious predator. With no time to react, he desperately sought refuge from the bear's relentless assault, but his efforts were in vain. As the struggle ensued, White's camera continued to capture the unfolding tragedy. In those final moments, he fought with courage born of desperation, but ultimately he could not overcome the overwhelming force of the bear's attack. When other hikers stumbled upon an abandoned backpack and signs of a struggle along the river, they knew something was terribly wrong. The torn clothing, the bloodstains, they painted a grim picture of a life cut short by the merciless jaws of the wilderness. Following the discovery, rangers in a helicopter located a large male grizzly bear guarding the remains of the hiker, which they identified as a food cache, clearly indicating a tragic end due to a bear attack. In the days that followed, investigators put together the events leading up to White's tragic end. His love for adventure in the wilderness was sadly overshadowed by a critical mistake, getting too close to a predator's territory.